Good morning and good evening to one and all. A very warm welcome to this webinar on Transform Your IT Experience with AIOps and ITSM. This webinar is being jointly hosted by Gavs and Cherwell. We do appreciate your time for attending this webinar. A couple of quick things in terms of the logistics for this webinar. The attendees would be able to post their questions in the chat window provided in the webinar control bar. During the discussion, we will also have one or two poll questions which will be flashing for the attendees on their screens, and those poll questions can be responded with answers appropriately. What can we expect out of this webinar? How would proactive IT operations led by artificial intelligence and machine learning based predictive insights reduce overall IT costs for an organization? AI and ML driven incident resolution through faster MTTR, and how all of these will help in achieving enhanced user experience. So these would be the broad areas of our conversation in this webinar today. Also cutting across to some of the discussion themes that will come out during our conversation.
Observability, benefits of harmony of having AIOps and ITSM platforms together in an enterprise, automation levers in terms of operational optimization, shift left, knowledge management by using Cherwell as an ITSM tool, and eventually how all of these will result in enhanced customer experience. Little bit of introduction about Gavs. Gavs is a global IT service provider with focus on AI-led managed services and digital transformation. Gavs is flagship AIOps product or platform known as Zero Incident Framework, also known as ZIF, enables proactive detection and remediation of incidents and helps organizations trend towards zero incident enterprise. Gavs also transforms IT enterprise delivery through ZIF and optimizes business services continuity for enterprises. Little bit of introduction about Cherwell. Cherwell empowers organizations to transform their business through adoption and easy management of enterprise service management platforms. Cherwell modernizes enterprises' business operations through customizable service management, automation, and reporting functions across the enterprise. An interesting fact is that Cherwell has entered into a technology alliance partnership with Gavs to deliver and adopt Gavs' zero incident framework, the AIOps solution from Gavs as well to its mutual customers. Let me introduce myself. I would be the moderator for this webinar today. My name is Vasudevan Gopalan from Gavs. I take care of product engineering function at Gavs for Zero Incident Framework. I do come with a couple of decades of experience in the industry across product engineering and digital transformation areas. Please also join me in welcoming our elite panel of speakers today for this webinar. Rakesh Singh from Beyond CX LLC. Rakesh has been a visionary leader with over 22 years of experience in establishing operational optimizations across diverse industries globally. He does come with a diversified background in IT infrastructure and operations and brings on a lot of thought leadership to the table. Rakesh has been enabling customers to achieve their challenging business and organizational goals through a well-managed, efficient, and agile digital transformation. Our next speaker for today is Chandra Maulishwaran from Gavs. Chandra comes with a stellar background. He comes with 25 years of IT experience in infrastructure management, enterprise application design and development, and also incubation of new products and services for various industries. Chandra focuses on creating IP solutions and does have few patents to his credit. Chandra heads the infrastructure management practice along with IP organization at Gavs. Let us also welcome Ryan Counts from Cherwell. Ryan is the senior solution consultant at Cherwell. He enjoys helping organizations develop a strategy for improving their IT service management and enterprise service management. Ryan comes with 20 years of experience in the industry, specifically focusing around IT monitoring and service management space. That's a quick round of introduction about our speakers. Uh, Without further ado, let us get into the conversation. Rakesh, if I may, uh, I would probably open up with a question to you in terms of asking, in today's digital transformation era, why do you think organizations need AIOps?
First of all, I would like to, start with welcoming everybody on this webinar, and thanks for inviting me as the speaker. I really appreciate it. See, I think one of the key focus of all the IT leaders is really around, speed, agility, and cost effectiveness, right? For IT to co-create value with business and deliver business outcomes, we need resources to focus on strategical initiative. And at times we have seen that with an ongoing operational issue, it's always kind of a distractor, right? Where you have to drop everything that you are doing and fix an issue so that the disrupted service is put back in an order so that business can continue to consume it, right? So I think one of the end state that most of the organizations are trying to target, which I call as the nirvana state, right? It's a state where everybody wants to be, where things can be auto detected and things can be auto corrected, right? Just imagine if we all can get into that state, we can, keeping the lights on will be an automated process that nobody has to worry about, right? And then we can take the entire focus and our resource and deploy those resources into innovation and strategical initiative so that we can enable our businesses to be ready to to kind of be the competition and be the leader in that space. So I think AIOps, which most of us know that it's basically an artificial intelligence for IT operations, it brings that ability for you to walk towards that nirvana state of auto detect and auto correct, for you to detect issues faster and correct issues faster, right? And also predict failures and leverage the power of automation and orchestration to remediate some of those resolutions. So I think if we start investing in AIOps, it gives us a platform where we can start marching towards, optimizing our operation, predicting issues before they happen, so that the teams is spending less time in keeping the lights on or KTLO activities, and they can focus more on innovation and strategical transformation. I think the other thing is there is plethora of data that floats around on our network today, right? It's absolutely impossible for a human to consume that data, analyze that data, and make a meaningful assessment to make informed decision, right? So AI platform really brings you the capability where you can not let those valuable data go without adding value into your decision making process, right? So you can ingest all of that data coming from your monitoring sources, your performance data, your capacity data, your end user consumption data, your end user disruption data. You can also leverage mature ITSM platforms to bring your configuration management data through discovery and dependency mapping and help connect a dot between all the components of a business service that makes you more proactive, and it actually helps you simplify the complex interdependent systems that exist to deliver those business service. So I think those, in my opinion, are some of the needs why an organization should really focus on leveraging this technology with a combination of an ITSM tool.
Okay, thanks, Rakesh. As a natural extension to what Rakesh said, Chandra, if I may ask you, what do you think at a high level are the potential use cases or potential areas for AIOps in an enterprise?
Okay, thanks, Vasu. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for all. Rakesh, you said it well, the nirvana state of auto detect and auto correct. I'm sure AIOps would take us there. But Vasu, to your question, so IT operations have become complicated these days thanks to lots of monitoring tools and hence lots of alerts and events. So each of those tools tries to prove IT managers that they are the best, and therefore they generate a lot of false alerts. And these tools look at every server or device like any other server or device. It ignores the fact that each system has its unique own characteristics, and their behavior and operations are quite different from the rest. So the traditional rule-based handling has not been providing any desired results. We have seen that. Quite a lot of alerts keep coming and our engineers keep ignoring it. Human cannot look into each system and the data and act accordingly. This space is where AI-driven operations help the IT team. So this is one. AI-driven operations understand each system, their normal behavior, what is abnormal and what is abnormal, normal and what is abnormal. So these abnormalities are not same for all the systems. It actually varies from system to system. And in fact, this functionality is now popularly known as observability in the industry. So look into the data and see what is unique and contextualize the data. So that is one thing that AIOps helps. Another help that this AIOps system provides IT engineers and maybe managers is that it tries to relate these alerts and events with the same of other systems and provide some kind of insights into why these sets of systems generated these alerts. Since it knows each system very well, it can also predict how each of those systems would perform in the future, say in the evening, today, or in the coming week. This AI-based, again, not rule-based, AI-based correlation and predictions are the most significant technical outcomes. It provides visibility into health of the IT systems and applications and probably business process. And also provide the agility. Rakesh talked about agility. Provides the agility to resolve it faster when it actually fails. This is another potential that AIOps brings to IT operations. Today's business needs not just availability. See, availability are the gone days. So what is required today is reliability. It's not enough to keep the systems available for end users, but it also should provide the consistent user experience, consistent response time every time, whenever he access every application. So this requires all systems and networks to run without any degradation in performance and utilization. So finally, what this means to business is near uncompromised reliability of applications for their business and ensure near zero business loss due to non-availability of systems. What this means to end users is continuously reliable, available applications for them to keep working on. I stop here, Vasu.
Okay. Thank you, Chandra. We will take a pause here and we will have a poll question to the attendees. The poll question would be visible to all of the attendees on their screen, as we can see now. Are you using AI and ML in your IT operations in your organizations today? That's the poll question. And we will give about 30 seconds for our attendees to respond and choose one of these four options. So the options are not leveraging. Yes, we are exploring and experimenting. Yes, we have already implemented, and probably the nirvana state of having a very mature IT AIOps center of excellence already in our organization. These are the four options that we have, and we would probably give few seconds for our attendees to poll their answers. Okay, so we have responses from 39% of the attendees, and yes, the distribution is about 17% of our attendees say that they are not yet leveraging, and about 14% are saying that yes, we are exploring and experimenting currently, and 8% say that they have probably implemented already, and there is a very minuscule percentage of 1% where there is already an established AIOps Center of Excellence. So these are very good inferences, which says that there is very good adoption for AIOps as far as enterprise IT operations is concerned today. Yes, with that we will move on to our next question. Ryan, let me pose this question to you in terms of how do you think ITSM tools like Cherwell, why do you think that they probably need to gravitate towards AIOps given the digital transformation that is happening today? And also as a follow-up to that, if you could probably touch upon how does AIOps elevate ITSM tools like Cherwell?
Okay, thank you. So quite a bit to unpack in that particular question. So, there's actually multiple use cases that ITSM platforms would have with AIOps. I mean, it's all about increasing efficiency throughout the organization. So as you can see on the screen, I've got a couple of metrics here that kind of help push this point. If we think about the average cost per IT ticket, and we're talking, if we level out all of the tickets over the course of a year, on average at a typical enterprise, it's about $15 per ticket, which may seem small. But when you think about the multiplier of handling 100,000, 200,000 tickets per year, that suddenly gets pretty significant. And packed in that cost is, your employee costs, your tool costs, everything supporting that. And that's just the average ticket. If we then consider the tickets that have to get escalated to tier 2, tier 3, that starts pushing up into the $100 range very quickly. So anything we can do to increase the efficiency there and drive down that average cost per ticket is going to be significant for any organization. And that's really where AIOps has a huge impact. So, that's going to help me classify tickets more appropriately to make sure that they're in the right hands of the right technicians to resolve faster. It's going to help with root cause analysis. So we're spending less time pouring through log files and trying to figure out what the source of a problem is. So that's in turn going to help me better use my teams essentially. So, not only is that improving from a efficiency perspective, we can also consider that from an employee retention perspective. Let's help my employees focus on the areas where they really want to spend their time. I mean, I would almost ask the audience, how many people wake up in the morning and go, oh boy, I can't wait to spend 4 hours reading log files. Not really sure anybody here would do that. So if we can remove that and automate that through AIOps and get the key insights to them quicker, we make their day a little better. They're focusing on expanding their own horizons with technology, learning better technology, increasing their skill set, and as a result, we're improving those business processes along the way. Okay. Now, one other concern I have seen at a lot of organizations is, if I leverage AIOps, what does that do to my team? Am I going to be slashing headcount? And when we've looked at historically what organizations have done when they have implemented things like AIOps and automation, they're not reducing headcount. What they're doing is finding better tasks for those team members and using them more effectively. And again, touching back to that retention, they're doing things that they're more interested in doing anyway. Okay, so all of that's helping organizations not only improve their human capital utilization, but if we also think the broader story of enterprise service management, which means helping IT become a strategic partner to the organization, this is buying them time to be able to do that. When my teams are spending less time doing repetitive tasks, boring tasks that eats up a lot of time, instead they can focus on projects that are helping improve the business itself. Okay, so If we can take that into a little bit more specific of a use case, and if we can move to the next slide here, we can talk about a particular use case that we've seen with Ziff. So in this case, what we are doing is leveraging AIOps to get better insights into individual incidents for a variety of methods. So for one example, it's essentially we're looking at the contents of an incident coming in and looking at historic success rates of my engineers and saying, who is really the best engineer to take up this ticket to resolve it faster? That in turn is going to help our customer satisfaction because they're spending less time rerouting tickets and waiting on, eventually getting the right person on this. And they're also getting better expectations to those users. So we're also historically looking at how long does it take to resolve this type of ticket and getting very granular based off the classification, but also the description of the ticket, who it's been assigned to, and other underlying metrics. That in turn is also going to help me reduce the number of escalations that I have to do. So again, making everybody more efficient. And then this is something that's only going to improve over time. That machine learning aspect is often overlooked. People tend to see it as something that I flip a switch and suddenly overnight we're automating everything. But unfortunately, that's not the case. What's going to happen is over time, the platform is going to learn your environment. It's going to learn about your people, your processes, and only get better over time. Okay. And with that covers that question.
Yeah. Thank you, Ryan. I think you very well covered the complementary aspects of AIOps as well as ITSM in an enterprise, right? Okay. So, Rakesh, having spoken about the real need for AIOps platforms in organizations today, and having seen the kind of potential that it can have, what do you think are the basic and advanced use cases of an AIOps platform?
See, I guess before I talk about those use cases, I think I would really like to share my experience working with other customers, right? I think when we are talking about tools like AIOps, ITSM tool, there are certainly some. I mean, there's no magic wand, right? It really takes a lot of effort, dedicated effort, right, for making this platform bring that value realization, right? And there is certainly a life cycle, right? So you may see some quick wins, and there are a few wins or kind of use cases which are complex, but then they will pay you off, in terms of optimization, right? So coming back to the question, I would really see them like, as Ryan also said, right? I think one of the use case, kind of a simple use case where you can have some quick wins is around service reliability, right? You can leverage the power of AIOps to kind of, Chandra also alluded to this, noise reduction, right? How can you leverage this platform and all the data that you are getting to correlate and deduplicate so that you are not looking at waste, you are only looking at meaningful alerts, right? How you can enrich this by bringing the intelligence of the network of this interdependency coming from your configuration management database or CMDB from your ITSM tool, tie it back to exactly understand and connect those dots, right? So service reliability is one of, I would say, the low-hanging fruit that you can really leverage, right, this AIO platform. And what I mean by that is you can look at your performance-related issues, you can detect them faster, you can come up with remediation, you can also auto-remediate, right? So these are cases like CPU spikes, memory spikes, file system, right, getting somebody an access. And then this service reliability helps you reduce the business impact. And as Ryan said, it directly is related to your customer satisfaction index, right? So faster you resolve, the happier the customer would be. And then if you can avoid an incident by prediction, you take it to the next level, right? The other aspect of it is related to efficiency, right? Which is like, how can you leverage this platform to kind of continue to optimize your bottom line, right? Now, that bottom line is also from both your cost of operation perspective and also from a resource capacity perspective, right? And those would be some of the, I would say, the complex use cases that you can come up with, which is really bringing the capacity management piece into it, right? So the simple use cases were related to performance management. In complex use cases, you can certainly bring your capacity management, your demand management. You can also leverage tools to really enable you to do modeling that you can again ingest into an AIOps platform. Because I think capacity management and modeling is certainly an area which is not very well explored in the AIOps world, because it is still focused more and more towards an operation. But I think if we can bring that aspect, then we are putting a complete picture, right? It is not just the current keeping the lights on operational demand, but we are also looking into the pipeline, and based on our performance data and capacity data, we can now model and forecast what would it look like from a financial management perspective, right? Do I need to procure faster? Do I need to procure more? Can I optimize and avoid a procurement? So those are some complex use cases. I think working with some of the customers and bringing the power of AIOps, leveraging some bot technologies, a powerful ITSM tool, orchestration tool, and leveraging the power of knowledge management and configuration management within the ITSM tool. I have seen where customers have completely eliminated or have drastically reduced the demand that is coming to their service desk or command center operation, right? I mean, with fine tuning and machine learning and prediction, there is a possibility that you can absolutely eliminate and automate a need for a NOC or a command center.
Okay. Thank you, Rakesh. That was very insightful. Now that we have spoken of the actual use cases, Chandra, can you please give us a peek into not just the technical outcomes, but also the business outcomes of having an ITOps, ITSM and AIOps platform in any enterprise?
Yes, Vasu. So before that, I must thank Rian for showing those slides before this question. And that actually tells that ITSM data is quite rich, and it can tell the complete story of how the IT operations have been performed in the organization in the past. Any interruption in the service is captured in the ITSM tool, and root cause analysis and actions are captured at times, if not all the times, we know that. But it definitely serves as the repository of all the disturbances that have happened in the organization, which is quite useful in analyzing and taking preventive actions. Applying AI on this ITSM data can produce quite a lot of insights. Let me try to give 3 or 4. I know we are, I don't have much time. First one, Rakesh also talked about that, the noise suppressions. There are some tools that generates tickets in the ITSM. Every time it generates alerts. And the same tools will keep generating alerts until it is rectified. So there is a need to look at these duplicates and eliminate this noise. So AIOps helps in identifying the similar alerts that are coming from the same tool or across the tool, and helps us eliminating the noise suppression. We have seen the noise suppression happening at greater than 90%, and we ourselves have done that in most of the implementation where ZIF has been implemented. That is one. The second one is the pattern-based alerts. I spoke at the beginning that the traditional rule-based alerts actually generates, rule-based thresholds actually generate more alerts. And the level 2 or level 3 engineers keeps closing them without actually looking into that. But AIOps can actually contextualize the alert and know what is abnormal, real abnormal, and then create ticket or alert only when it actually becomes abnormal or only when someone has to take action. So by this, we can actually reduce 10 to 15% of the alerts that are otherwise normally ignored by the level 2, level 3 engineers. The third one, most important, the event correlation. I think the gentleman in this webinar may agree with me that the root cause of an incident that occurred in, say, system A is not necessarily caused by some issues in the same system. It could also be caused by an event in either system B or C or D. So there is a need to correlate these alerts together and find out which one caused the root alert. And it is difficult to do such correlations manually. And AIOps actually helps in correlating these events and alerts based on many techniques. There are many techniques. Some do based on the relationship, physical and logical, and some do on pattern-based correlation, and some do based on the problem relationship. And this process actually helps in faster resolution and make sure that the applications are available for the business. And we have seen the correlations that the Zero Incident Framework has deployed using the pattern-based algorithm and the problem relationship with a little bit help of logical relationship can yield 85% strong correlations wherever we have deployed this. The fourth one is, of course, the prediction, the most important. With the knowledge that it gained by reading through the data, it actually understands how it has behaved and how it would behave in the coming days. And we have also seen that close to 80% success in the predictions for linearly varying data. So what I mean linearly varying is the data that actually does not spike suddenly like the way CPU or memory spikes. One example is the disk storage. We have been very successful in predicting those outages. And the fifth one is, of course, since there is quite a lot of information in the ITSM tickets, AIOps can actually read through all those tickets. What is the problem, who has resolved, how much time it has taken, collect all this information. And when the next ticket comes, you can actually assign that ticket to the available engineer and also tell the user upfront how much time it would take for the problem to get resolved. This is actually a user delight. As a user, when I raise the ticket, if I'm told that within next 40 minutes, my problem would get resolved by so-and-so engineer, I know what to expect. And if it gets done within that, and I'll be a delighted customer. So AIOps helps in getting that. And of course, the last one, I think this is the last one for me, NLP techniques. It uses the NLP techniques on the tickets that come and automatically triages the ticket without the need of a human triager. So this not only eliminates the triager, but also reduces the triaging time. So what all these provides to business, what I have told all technical outcomes. So what this means for the business is improved availability and reliability of the systems that drive the revenue directly or indirectly for the organization. That is one. Second one, it reduces the cost of IT operation. Rakesh also talked about that because it simplifies the job of a command center and level 2, level 3 engineers by filtering. The cost of IT operations also getting reduced drastically. Over to you, Vasu.
Okay. Thank you, Chandra, for
If you'll allow, I just want to add to what Chandra just said.
Please.
I think there is another aspect, as a business outcome, and that is really re-establishing the trust between business and IT. Because business, when they start seeing more and more availability and things are not disrupting, they are able to make the money that they're supposed to make. I think that brings that trust back within an organization. And I think that's a state where you want to be in this world so that you can be close to business and you can co-create values along with business. So just wanted to add that aspect also as part of the business outcome.
Sure. Thank you, Rakesh. Thank you, Chandra. Chandra, I do have a follow-up question on what we spoke of now. What do you think is a typical value realization cycle or a journey from a timeline perspective? Because organizations would be having the right intentions to adopt an AIOps platform, but might be having apprehensions in terms of the value realization timeline. So could you please throw some light on that, Chandra?
Yes, Vasu. It's tough one. More than tough, it's a debatable one, but let me address that. See, there are two kinds of outcomes. So the outcomes like the noise suppression and detecting false positives, this can happen quickly, say within a day to a week. The system needs to understand few things, and with the NLP built in, it can actually start suppressing the noise and detecting false positives very quickly. As I said, within a day. Some cases maybe max a week. It does not require longer time. But there are some outcomes like pattern-based correlation, pattern-based threshold, predictions, user delight. All these may take some time. And we may ask why this one takes time. See, as a human, we learn more over time. And in sports, Vasu, you are a sportsman, you know, they say that one should practice for 10,000 hours to master the sport. And some say that one should read 7 times to fully understand a subject and practice 7 times to articulate the subject independently. So these are some of the theories that we hear. So AI can never be better than a human, and hence it's no different. So more than the data, more the observability, and more the time, more the learnings. So AI tools gains from both the data and the time. You cannot actually it actually complements each other. You cannot compress the time by providing more data. Okay, you want more data, I'll provide you by having more polling intervals. I'll provide you more data. Let me give me the prediction. It does not work. Similarly, you can't compensate the lesser data by having it for a longer time. The systems behave differently on different days, different times within a day. So if AI has to capture all such behavior, then we should let the AI go through these motions to get a better output. Like 7 times is good for human. The AI also needs 7 such cycles. So probably we can say 6 to 7 weeks of data is actually good enough to produce 80 to 85% of the results.
Okay.
One more thing, sorry. The new thing is emerging today, the reinforced learning that actually makes the learning faster and produces results quickly. In fact, GAVS Technologies has been working with the Indian Institute of Technology in Chennai, a premier higher education institute, in developing these algorithms and that can provide faster results. So we hope probably with RL agents taking place as the core algorithm, we may be able to produce in less than 6 weeks.
Okay. Thank you, Chandra, and thanks for your compliment as well. Okay. So Rakesh, I thought I should ask you this question. With so much of cloud adoption and the proliferation of cloud today, and in terms of organizations taking a cloud adoption strategy and in their efforts to do legacy modernization, etc., how do you think AIOps complement in terms of their efforts on this front, Rakesh, if you may please?
See, I think it's a good question. I will at least start with throwing some business perspective to it, right? I think if you look from their lenses, it doesn't really matter to them whether our services are in cloud or they are on-prem or public, private, hybrid. I mean, for them, it's buzzword, right? But as an IT leader, this platform help us in painting a consolidated and complete picture, right? I don't have to look into my performance metric on a different pane of glass and then go back and run different analytics from my cloud management platform to get me an analytics on my performance, right? So we can really bring all of them together to help paint a bigger and a consolidated picture of how my services, and I think as you guys will agree that while we are simplifying it for end user, but in the back end, the technologies are becoming very complicated, right? When I'm saying complicated, there's no one way, right? I mean, with Kubernetes, Dockers, microservices, it is not a state where you know that your application is running on a specific hardware, right? You never know when they will vMotion, when they will. So it's a very dynamic and a very complex infrastructure, right? So I think the AIOps will only help you complement understanding your hybrid world. I'm sure most of the organization is going to stay in that state for a while before they become a complete, cloud organization. And I think it also brings visibility from a financial aspect perspective, which is very important, right? Because every IT leader has to go and justify each and every penny spent on IT. Right, to the board members or to the business leaders, right? So this really gives you an ability to, as I said in the beginning, right, calculate an ROI and kind of showcase the value that you are bringing by both your on-prem and cloud investment. So I think it is only going to complement painting the bigger picture.
Okay, sure, Rakesh. Thank you for that. Ryan, as a platform, Cherwell, how do you think that it kind of gives us the ability or capability to enhance the ITOps functions? If you can please throw some light on that.
Yes, certainly. So we're going to do this in a number of different ways. So for one, kind of think about AIOps as kind of a partnership, as it were. And, it's not going to be just we're going to flip the switch. AIOps is going to handle all of this work effort. What we're going to need to do, and kind of to Rakesh and Chandra's points earlier, there's a learning cycle behind this. So as your AIOps platform identifies a critical event, what we want to do initially, at least, is fire off an event within your ITSM platform, which is going to trigger automatic generation of, say, an incident, and assigning that to the appropriate operations team to respond to that quickly. As we start automating the response to those incidents, we want that human oversight to be able to first validate, did it resolve the issue? If it didn't, we want to be able to help in the training of that AIOps, some subtle refinement of configuration. But in the course of that, we're not just doing this for the oversight. We're also doing it to build confidence. As we start seeing, hey, this is actually working, this is actually solving some of these issues, and we can quantify that in a way that we can now take to leadership of the business to say, look, this is working. We need to build on this. Let's expand this to other critical services, or let's utilize this in maybe some areas we hadn't previously thought about. It's going to build on that success. And that's part of where that ITSM platform comes in, because it's going to provide the reporting and analytics to truly evaluate, how much of our time are we saving? Going back to that cost per ticket, how much are we able to reduce that because we're automating so many of these tasks? So we need that kind of analytics. What we also want is to really utilize that centralized CMDB, the configuration management database that ITIL has really been pushing since day one as a central repository for all of our knowledge. Well, that AIOps has a lot of insights that we want to make sure that we're bringing in. So we can make strategic decisions about our critical services that not only drive down issues with those services or degradations, but also optimize the cost aspects to it. To Rakesh's point earlier, as we start looking at cloud offerings, I see organizations drop shifting elements of critical services to new cloud providers almost on a quarterly basis, because they look for cost optimization opportunities. And as we do that, well, we need to have that central repository to know, okay, was that decision a successful one? Did we actually enhance the availability of that service? Did we actually realize the cost savings that we wanted to achieve? And really the best place for that kind of data would be the CMDB. And then finally, the last point for this is AIOps is going to fundamentally change the business processes within IT, how we want to escalate tickets, how we're going to do routing, what is our response to these. So, as part of that, we need a ITSM platform that is flexible enough that we can make small changes to our business processes very quickly without having to have a major project. I kind of describe it as change a little, learn a lot. So as we're implementing that AIOps, we're going to continually be revising not just its configuration, but how that affects all of the people within the IT organization. And we need to be able to adjust our platform very quickly to adapt to those changes. Okay, and that's all I got for that one.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Rakesh, you touched upon an interesting point in terms of capacity utilization and availability for an organization, right? So how do you think implementation of an AIOps platform as a solution is going to have an impact on the teams that are actually working on the ground from an operations and from a monitoring standpoint, Rakesh?
See, I think like any other transition, in the beginning of the journey, you will see a spike, right? And then if it is done well, you will really see, how it helps you in optimizing and bringing that resource capacity back. I think Ryan alluded to this point earlier, right? bring that resource capacity back on the table that you can reinvest into your innovation and strategical initiative, right? So it's not about eliminating a workforce. It is all about bringing that capacity back for as in reinvestment, right? So I mean, as I said, right, so it will go up initially because you have to adopt to this new tool, right? You will have to look into your processes, right? There will be some initial investment, from a fine tuning perspective, right? There's always going to be a learning and correction and fine tuning that will help you in achieve the results that you may want to as part of those different use cases that you might have identified as simple, complex use cases. So I think in the beginning, it certainly you will see a spike, but then over a course of time, as you implement it through, then you will see that value realization as part of resource capacity available, which you can repurpose for your innovation and strategical initiatives.
Okay, thank you, Rakesh. As a continuity to what we spoke now, Rakesh, what do you think are the typical success factors for organizations to have very successful AIOps platform implementation?
See, I think in my experience working with customers, I think some of the key challenges that we have to keep in mind when we get on board and sign up for initiatives like this is it has to be top down, right? There has to be a commitment throughout the leadership in making this happen, and then it has to come downwards, and then there has to be a commitment. I mean, as I earlier mentioned, you are not buying a magic wand which is going to change your life overnight, right? It really requires dedicated attention, commitment, focus, and I think you really need champions, right? You need change agents within the organization to make it happen. There will be disruption. People will not like it because you are forcing them to change. There will be some threat that may come from the word automation. So I think all of that had to be very well dealt as part of the leadership, as part of the organizational change management, as part of the cultural change, as part of the DNA change of an organization, which is very critical, right? I think I would say, investing in tool is not just the only thing, right? Tool is needed, but that's not the only thing that will take you towards the state of nirvana that we all discussed in the beginning, right? So that's the first thing, right? I think the second step is it is very important for us to know where we are and where we want to go, right? As I said, right, you from a resource capacity perspective, from your budget perspective, all those constraints, you may not be able to achieve everything that you want to achieve on day one, right? So you have to piecemeal it and say, my phase one focus is going to be these use cases, my phase two focus is going to be these use cases, because it requires resource investment in some cases. It may require you to change your tool, consolidate your tool, right, and make some investment in that area. So I think doing an assessment and realizing where I am and where I want to go. Once you know where you want to go and you really know what is that timeline, then you can set some short-term goals, right? So you can identify those KPIs, those success criteria through which you will measure this success. I think the other important thing is you also have to, as I said, identify those champions. So there would be some roles that you will have to redefine in the organization, and then it should relate to the goals and objective of those roles, right? I mean, for making some of these initiatives important, it's very important that you set the right expectation and then you measure the performance and the KPI, right? So I think leadership buy-in, doing a self-assessment, identifying the future, and then identifying those change agents and roles and the organizational change management that you may have to do, and then make that as part of the goals and objective of everybody, right from bottom till up, so that we can measure success and we can continue to be committed. Otherwise, I have seen there is a huge what do you call expectation, right? That brings some impatience, and people think, oh, it's been 3 months, it's been 4 months, the thing did not change for me. I mean, it's not going to happen that way, right? I mean, there has to be a focused due diligence and agreement on the entire journey and how we are going to. You cannot go from a maturity level of 2 to 4 overnight, right? It takes you money, time, and once you get down to a maturity level 3 to 3.15, 3.15 to 3.25 is going to be more and more complex and will take more toll on you from a resource perspective, from a commitment perspective and dedication perspective, right? So I think once you get down to some quick wins, it is going to be even more difficult to keep adding that value add and get down to that future state that we all signed up for. So I think those are those 3 or 4 important things that we really need to focus before we get on this boat.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Rakesh. Chandra, question to you. What do you think are the unique propositions of ZIF from an offering standpoint to the marketplace? Chandra, you may be on mute. Yeah, Chandra.
Okay, sorry. See, I've said this on many occasions. An AIOps platform should consist of whatever is required to perform true AI operations. It should not be depending on some other tools to perform its core functions. Like Rakesh said, that auto detect and auto correct. If you have to perform auto detect, then we need to monitor. That monitor module should be part of the AIOps. If you are depending on an external monitoring tool, then the kind of data that we need to do the correlation and the prediction may not be good enough. So monitor is an important component. And if I need to make sure that I monitor everything that is there in the organization, in the environment, then I need to have a discovery module. So discover helps in identifying all the devices that are part of the business, and then it tells us what are the devices that we need to monitor. Then the analyze and predict, which is the core, which makes use of the data that discover and monitor provides and helps us in providing those correlation. Analyze and predict is core. Then if I have to complete the correct whatever has been detected, so we need to know what should be done. So the analyze and predict module provides that, and the remediation does that. So this gives the complete cycle, and unless these components are within the framework, true AIOps platform cannot give the desired results. That's one unique feature of Zero Incident Framework. It has everything that is required to perform true AI operations. It provides a single pane of command, single pane of view. It can integrate almost all the tools that exist in the IT environment and bring all those alerts, traps, events into one single screen. And not only that, while it receives, it also does the correlation in real time. And the framework is actually capable of handling hundreds of thousands of data from hundreds and thousands of servers. To give it in time, in terms of number, it can actually handle about 5,000 to 6,000 transactions per second, or 5,000 to 6,000 record data that are coming from the various systems per second. And in terms of processing, an event enters into the system, it can actually finish the processing within 0.03 milliseconds. And if you actually take the whole processing, right, receive the alert, process it, compare it across multiple tools, do the correlation, and finds out whether it has to be actionable or not, it can actually finish it in 9 seconds of time. So the capability of the platform is so huge that it can fit into even a small company to very large company. And prediction, we talked about, we are able to get 80 to 85% accuracy in predictions. Because of the effective correlation, 80 to 90% strong correlation, most of the time the identification of the root cause is much faster, and the MTTR has been continuously reducing. We have seen in some of the implementations 40 to 50% reduction in MTTR. And because it is able to provide the right root cause and helps us in implementing the right corrective action, it also helps in reducing the high severity incidents. We have seen 30 to 40% reduction in P1 incidents in some of the implementation we have done. All in all, it actually helps in reducing the IT cost by 50 to 60%. So that's the unique of ZIF Vasu.
Okay, thank you, Chandra. So, Ryan, if I have to probably extend the same conversation, what do you think are the unique features that Cherwell brings on to the table, Ryan?
Yeah, thank you. So, with regard to Cherwell, we are not just a traditional ITSM platform. We are a enterprise service management platform. And what we mean by that is we like to go into an organization and say, okay, where do you have key business processes that today you're managing on paper or on Excel spreadsheets that you're struggling to keep up, especially in today's world with the current responses to COVID that has many employees not entering into the business. So as a result, if I kind of flip this question around a little bit and look at, not just the capabilities, but what are the values that we're delivering to our customers? Well, we're helping them increase productivity. We're able to go in and automate these business processes, leverage things like AIOps to provide new insights, and as a result, the entire organization in many areas, not just IT, but potentially HR, facilities, other departments are seeing significant productivity increases. As a result of that, we're also seeing increased satisfaction of your employees and customers because they've got a predictable process now. It's no longer I pick up the phone and ask something from somebody, and well, then I have to call them back in a week and find out where we're at with this. I have to constantly henpeck different departments. Instead, I've got a predictable model where I can go to a self-service portal and get clear insights into where am I at with these requests. We also see a significant reduction in requests and incidents to IT. When we can provide self-service knowledge support, when we can provide automation directly through a self-service portal, for example, we're able to successfully handle these requests without adding to the burden of your tier 1 and tier 2 teams. So as a result, we also see an acceleration in time to market. We are a no-code platform, so many of our customers only have a few Cherwell administrators because it's so easy to build out business processes and adapt those because they're not writing code for any of these processes. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. As we are probably coming close to our time, we will probably give 1 or 2 minutes to take in any questions from our attendees. Chandra, one of the questions is, how do we really differentiate between correlation and causation, right? If you can please.
Yes, I saw the question from Sumit. So correlation helps in finding out the causation. It actually, as I said, it uses 1 or 2 techniques and group the alerts that are actually part of one incident. And from that, it actually tells which had actually caused. And so that we could attack that particular alert and not necessarily all the alerts. So correlation helps in root cause analysis and providing the right corrective action.
Okay. Thank you, Chandra. I think we have come to the end of our conversation. We would like to share a couple of notes that if there are any further queries or inquiries, that can be sent to inquiry@zif.ai. And I also wanted to say that the link for this recorded webinar will be shared across to all of the attendees. And on behalf of Gavs and Cherwell, I would like to thank all of the attendees for taking time to tune in today to this webinar. And I also take this occasion to thank our speakers, Chandra, Rakesh, and Ryan. Thank you very much for such an engaging conversation in the last 60 minutes. Thank you all. This is Vasudevan Gopalan signing off from Gavs. Thank you.
Thank you, Vasu. Thanks, Rakesh and Ryan.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you.